Air Force One flighting 160, runway 17 right, start signal.
Air Force One is the official state aircraft of the President of the most powerful country in the world, the United States of America. Technically, Air Force One is not an aircraft. It's the official air traffic control call sign for any United States Air Force aircraft while having the President on board. The Air Force One is laced with all types of the latest offensive and defensive weapons as it serves as an embassy for the guests of the President of the United States. Air Force One is one of the most recognized emblems of the President, generating numerous allusions not only in American society, but throughout the globe. Emblazoned with the words United States of America, the American flag, and the seal of the President of the United States, it has an unmistakable presence wherever it flies. The thought of creating a specified military aircraft for transportation of the President started during the World War II period. Back then, many military advisors were concerned by the danger of using commercial airlines for the President to travel. A Douglas VC-546 was then converted and designed specifically for presidential use. It was named the Sacred Cow. In February 1945, President Franklin D. Roosevelt traveled in that plane to the Yalta Conference. President Harry S. Truman also used the aircraft for another 2 years. In the year 1953, the Air Force One call sign was created. It happened when a Lockheed Constellation carrying President Dwight D. Eisenhower and a commercial airline flight entered the same airspace, both having the same flight number. During Eisenhower's presidential term, he introduced the 4 propellers-driven aircraft in the service. This fleet included 2 Lockheed C-121 Constellations, aircraft Columbine 2 and Columbine 3. Columbine 2 was the first plane that used the Air Force One call sign. This specialized aircraft was used by Dwight D. Eisenhower to travel to South Korea. Later, the Columbine 2 was replaced by Columbine 3. Towards the end of the Eisenhower presidential term, some safety-related questions were raised for the use of propeller-driven aircraft for the president's transportation, as opposing countries were developing new technologies. This created the way for the initial development and use of 3 Boeing 707 VC-137A jet aircraft, named as SAM, Special Air Missions 970, 971, and 972. The jet technology was more safe, efficient, and fast. The Vice President Richard Nixon first used a Boeing 707 aircraft on his trip to Russia for the kitchen debates in July 1959. President Eisenhower traveled aboard the SAM 970 during his goodwill tour Flight to Peach in December 1959. He visited around 11 Asian countries in 19 days, which was an impressive performance by the Boeing 707 in comparison to the old Columbine. The 35th President of the United States, John F. Kennedy, came into power in the jet age. In 1960, he inherited the VC-137A, which was previously used by Eisenhower. John F. Kennedy was the main person behind the development of the new and advanced Air Force One. He hired the French-born American industrial designer Raymond LOEWY to design the livery and interiors for the SAM 970. According to some interviews, it came out that LOEWY provided the designs without charging any fee. From the initial sketches made by LOEWY, Kennedy chose the red and gold design. LOEWY chose the steel blue color, which is associated with the early republic and the presidency, along with the water blue color to represent an America that is flying into the future while rooted in the past. There are presidential seals on both sides of the fuselage and a large American flag on the tail. LOEWY's development was highly appreciated and became a legacy and tradition of American prosperity. SAM 26000 was in service from 1962 to 1998. On November 22, 1963, Kennedy traveled to Dallas, Texas, where he got assassinated. After the event, Vice President Lyndon Johnson took the oath inside the SAM 26000 as the President of America. The body of John F. Kennedy was also taken back to Washington by the aircraft. SAM 27000 was first used by President Richard Nixon. It was replaced by 2 Boeing VC-25A aircraft in 1990. It was during the initial period of President George H.W. Bush. The VC-25 is fully equipped with modern technology and communication systems, which ensures that the President can perform the duties while airborne. The VC-25 is a Boeing 747 airliner which is the present Air Force One operated by the United States Air Force. There are two highly modified Boeing 747s which are designated VC-25A with tail numbers 28,000 and 29,000. In 1985, the USAF started searching for the replacement of the old Boeing 707 VC-137, which had been in the service for over 20 years. After the proposal got issued, the Boeing 747 and McDonnell Douglas's DC-10 were in the race, Boeing winning the race eventually. The preparation of the 747s began in the presidential period of Ronald Reagan. The VC-25C were finally completed in 1986 and took the first flight in 1987. The First Lady, Nancy Reagan, was the one who designed the interiors. The VC-25 can fly 7,800 miles without refueling. It can accommodate more than 70 passengers. 2 galleys can provide up to 100 meals at once. There are a total of 6 passenger lavatories. There is a medical annex that has an operating table, a well-stocked emergency pharmacy, and medical supplies. It has 2 main decks with a cargo area. The cargo space is where all the passenger luggage and food supplies are kept. The passenger deck is on the second floor. The main deck entrance is through an air stair. This is where the president generally boards. The journalists and other passengers can enter the main deck by the rear door. There is a section in the front which is called the White House. The president's executive suite has all kinds of requirements, which include bed, couches, shower, and lavatory. If needed, the president can also address the whole nation from the office inside the aircraft. In the event of any kind of attack, the aircraft can also be used as a military command center. All the communication systems are connected with approximately 238 miles of wiring, and they are protected with heavy shielding in case of the nuclear electromagnetic pulse during a nuclear attack. It has ECMs, which can jam the enemy's radar, which will help to avoid heat-seeking missiles. There is a supply of arms and ammunition in the compartments in case of a combat emergency. The maximum speed is 630.1 miles per hour, 1,014 kilometers per hour, at 35,000 feet. The Air Force One is also used for meetings, as the presidents have invited many other world leaders to travel together. Nixon invited Soviet General Secretary Leonid Brezhnev in June 1973 to travel with him to California. Obama in March 2012 invited British Prime Minister David Cameron for a basketball game in Ohio in Air Force One. The VC-25A were in service for a very long time. Now they are aging and have become less cost-effective to operate. The USAF has already been planning on replacement. In May 2016, the American Air Force posted an online amendment on the Air Force One contract authorizing Boeing to start preliminary designing. On 27 February 2018, there was the final announcement from the White House that a $3.9 billion U.S. agreement had been reached with Boeing to modify 2 747-8s to replace the current VC-25As. The new aircraft are planning to be designed as VC-25B. The Boeing company is currently behind the actual schedule on the 2 new Air Force One aircraft, but they are expected to be delivered by 2025. On Air Force One, there are additional accommodations for individuals who accompany the president, including top advisors, Secret Service agents, traveling journalists, and other invited visitors. There are usually several cargo aircraft flying ahead of Air Force One to transport the president's personal belongings and to provide him with transportation and services in distant areas.